So I'd like to welcome in now NewsNation legal contributor Jesse Weber. Jesse, great to see you again. Before we talk about this actual trial, just talk about how difficult will it be to select an unbiased jury, considering all the circumstances surrounding this now second murder trial.
I think it's much more difficult this time around. And what have we seen already today? What, out of the 91 jurors that were questioned, 78 knew about this case. They're obviously going to know more about it this time around than they did in the first trial. But also, of that number, 40 had already come up with an opinion, and 16 already said they had a bias. Now, kudos to those jurors for being honest, because the worst thing that would happen for both the prosecution and the defense is if you have stealth jurors, people who want to get on that jury because they have an agenda one way or another. You don't want that. So I think this is going to be a very difficult jury selection process, considering you have potentially more witnesses. I believe 150 potential witnesses. And one of the first questions these jurors are asked are, do you know any of these witnesses? This is a town where it seems a lot of people know everybody or have a connection. So I think getting a jury is going to take quite some time, and we may not even see opening statements at the beginning of this trial until the end of the month.
Wow. All right. So her defense team, as we said at the top, has alleged that Reed is the victim of a vast cover-up and that she's being framed. Do you think the defense strategy will be the same for this now trial number 2? What is different this time around?
So they have two avenues that they're going with here, and they are a bit more limited and also a little bit more expanded in certain ways. Let me explain. So their idea was that John O'Keefe, the victim in this case, was killed at this house party and left to die on outside. Now, the defense will have the ability to present a third-party culprit defense. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to point to everybody, but they may have the ability to point to two individuals who were at that party if they had the motive, the intent, and the opportunity to do so. They won't be able to introduce it into opening statements, but they will be able to explore it later on if they can lay a foundation. Now, one of the things they're able to do in this case is present dog bite evidence. In other words, that John O'Keefe had dog bite injuries, and it would seem to suggest he was in that house after getting dropped off by Karen Reed and was killed there and left to die. Now, on the other hand, the defense wanted to present evidence of a botched investigation, and they were hoping to call an FBI expert to say that this investigation was tainted, it was botched. They're not permitted to do that. The judge ruled that yesterday or the day before. So they're going to be able to explore the deficiencies in this police investigation, but only through cross-examination. Now, this might raise reasonable doubt. Clearly, it left that first jury undecided. They couldn't come up with the decision. We'll see which way this goes around. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of different perspectives put forward by the defense.
All right. So Massachusetts State Trooper Michael Proctor, he was fired last month over allegations that he had disparaged Karen Reed, that he shared confidential investigative details. How is that likely to impact this trial, if at all?
He was a disaster for the prosecution. The lead investigator talking, I mean, the text messages presented to him about how he was speaking about Karen Reed in a derogatory fashion. I'm not even going to, repeat what he said, but now he's fired. So the idea that the jury is going to see this, does it A, make his testimony a bit more unpredictable since he doesn't have to preserve his job? Maybe. But as soon as the jury finds out that he was let go, that makes him a really important witness for the defense. And as the lead investigator overseeing this case, if the defense is pushing forward the narrative that this was a botched investigation and not every lead was looked into and there was a cover-up of some sort, if I tried to create a more ideal witness for the defense, I don't think I could. But again, the prosecution has their opportunity to present more evidence about the crime scene and why they believe that a car is what ultimately hit John O'Keefe.
All right. So last question for you here, Jesse. Obviously, the prosecution is retrying this case. They have to feel confident trying to bring it before a judge again. But there was a mistrial the first time. Again, same courthouse, same judge. Do you think the same thing happens this second time around?
So tough to say. I think they're going to go with the same theory. They have a new they have a new prosecutor on the case. But look, they really have to focus on the science. And some of the science helps. There are experts, reconstruction expert who would say that, John O'Keefe's injuries are consistent with being hit by a car. But on the other hand, you have the medical examiner who couldn't determine the manner of death. And that same expert who talked about the injuries being consistent with a car also said that he couldn't definitively determine whether John O'Keefe was thrown into the air. So they really have to be specific with the jury about what their theory is. Maybe they limit their witnesses, and they have to be very strong in terms of cross-examining the defense's experts and probably have some strong rebuttal witnesses that they need in their pocket too.
Yeah, this will be one that a lot of people are certainly watching. NewsNation legal contributor Jesse Weber, thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.